Are you leading a healthy lifestyle, following all the latest trends in nutrition, health? Well, you may be surprised that some of the greatest things out there that they're quoting as nutritional supplements and healthy lifestyle are going to be debunked right here on Deeper Living today. Our guest, Kathryne Pirtle, will be sharing with us some insight from her own testimony that's going to rock your nutritional world. So stay with us right here on Deeper Living.
This is Deeper Living, bringing the inspirational marketplace to your front door. You're going to love this.
Hello and welcome to Deeper Living. I'm Meredith Book, and today we are excited to have Kathryne Pirtle, who is the author of a new book, Performance Without Pain. And this book will revolutionize the way that you think about nutrition. And Kathryne, thank you so much for joining us today. And, you know, when I got this book, I thought, here we go again.
Another health book.
Another health book,
Yeah.
you know, claiming to, you know, if you do this and you'll do that. And, you know, you're a very well-known clarinetist. You have a tremendous testimony, and a lot of this book was birthed out of that testimony. Mm-hmm. And as I was reading this, I started thinking, okay, she's talking about chronic ailments and all of this, and I thought, okay, I want to get to know her. I want to see what it was that brought you to reading this book, because after reading this, there were definite areas in my diet, definite areas in, you know, how I looked at what I was eating, because I thought I was a fairly healthy eater. And it really, there were some incredible things that I sat back and went, oh, I didn't know that. And also the research that was put into this. This isn't something that was just, oh, I'll see what works and see what happens. But I want you to share with our viewers your testimony and a little bit of what brought you to learning all this information that you now have really compiled into this book and are really sharing with the masses and getting this information out there. But share a little bit about sort of the critical place that you were at.
Well, I just want to tell everybody that I was always very conscious of health. I'm a professional clarinetist, and I have a national career. And starting in my 20s, when my career was developing, I was particularly interested in nutrition. What is the healthiest diet? And so at the time, that was I've just turned 50, so that was in the 80s. I was, you know, just performing, and I was running and doing all that good stuff. And at that time, the food pyramid was really it, you know. So I followed the food pyramid. I did everything that food pyramid said to do.
Which is, most people don't even do that. You know, for most of us to comprehend, 7 pieces of fruit a day. Well,
but it was the grains. I ate lots of grains. I ate very little fat. I had no butter, for God's sake, no butter.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, don't eat butter.
Right.
And then,
the whole cholesterol.
So then I ate lots of fruits and vegetables, and I ate lots of salad, and everybody just looked at how I was eating, and I was probably the healthiest person in the world. And but what I should also share with you is that all during this time, I always had pain. I had chronic pain. One thing would be sore, another thing would be sore. Every time I practiced, my neck would be sore, my arms would be sore. So I was constantly in and out of the massage therapist, the chiropractor. And I just, you know, I had
And was your doctor
pain.
just kind of looking at you like...
No, because they just, you know, the massage therapist, well, you have pain, you know, you come to the chiropractor, sure, we'll just have that, you know, every adjustment every other week if we have to.
But never really finding the source of the pain.
No.
And so, you know, you start to think you're going a little bit crazy. And I know from friends that have had chronic pain, they, you know, it's like they're trying to explain it, but no one understands it.
Well, and I can just tell you how much some of this suffering was really very profound. When you are a professional orchestral musician, you go to auditions for orchestras, and it's very, very hard. It's sort of like getting into the Olympics. There's probably 100 people that are auditioning for one position, and you're put behind the screen. Well, when I had this audition for the Milwaukee Symphony Principal Clarinet, you practice for months in advance. And I was in a lot of pain, and, you know, I was taking whatever you take, anti-inflammatories, and constantly icing. And the night before my audition, I was laying on ice cubes just to be out of pain. And it was just horrifying. I mean, to always be chasing pain, always be chasing pain.
Well, and it controls. It's so limiting. And again, it's something that, you know, unless you have something that people can physically you know, you can physically diagnose. It's hard for other people to understand and comprehend what you're going through.
Right.
And think, well, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that?
Well, I was doing everything
that you could think of.
That people did. I mean, in our profession, chiropractic massage therapy, I did Rolfing,
Right.
I learned Alexander
You
technique.
did do it all.
Alexander technique, how to use my body the best way.
Right.
I mean, it's became an expert on how to use myself, how to take care of myself.
Well, how to manage the pain.
Right, how to manage pain. It was constantly managing pain. And, you know, the problem is that when I turned 40, I started having some other things happening. I developed acid reflux disease, and I started feeling this terrible sensation of needing to burp all the time, and when I would, then there would be acid coming up in my
not
throat.
something that you want when you're a clarinetist.
Right, no, this was really scary. And so I started doing the blood type diet, which I'm type O, so I cut wheat out of my diet, and instead I would eat, you know, rice cookies, and I was doing salads, lots of salads, and fresh, you know, vegetables, and, you know, meats, a little bit of meat here and there, but I did get rid of the feeling of acid reflux.
Right, and we actually have to jump to a short break, and I didn't want to interrupt you because I think there's a lot of people that are suffering with very similar symptoms to you.
Right.
So we're going to take a short break. Stay with us right here on Deeper Living as we're visiting with Kathryne Pirtle. Welcome back to Deeper Living. If you're just joining us, we're visiting with Kathryne Pirtle and her book, Performance Without Pain. And this is literally a step-by-step nutritional program complete with recipes and other just fascinating information that you are going to want to get your hands on. If you are suffering from chronic pain, from illness such as yourself, this is just invaluable information. You've got information here for athletes, dancers, people who are constantly putting their bodies under duress. Right before the break, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but you were really starting to share your testimony and story, which led to this book, and you were talking about how hitting your 40s, you were already battling chronic pain.
Right.
Then you started dealing with acid reflux, not even knowing or understanding why it was happening. So continue with your story on that.
Well, so I had the acid reflux, and I was able to keep it at bay by not eating wheat. But what I had no idea about is I actually had a gluten intolerance, which is intolerance to gluten grains.
Right.
So that sort of worked okay, but when I turned 45, I developed an inflammation in my spine that was so painful that I could not even lift my clarinet case up with, I had to roll it. I couldn't do anything. I mean, like cleaning my house, I put me in pain for for days. So it was just horrible.
And I was going to say, anyone who has not experienced any type of back pain, lower back pain, really doesn't understand how debilitating it is. And I never had, and my mom had always suffered kind of from some lower back pain until I was pregnant. And that at one point, the sciatic, I couldn't move. You are absolutely paralyzed.
Well, nerve pain is the worst.
Oh,
and this was nerve pain
horrible.
in my spine, in the upper part of my spine.
Oh.
So I didn't think I was going to be able to play anymore. And so I was able to, I identified that I also at the same time had terrible flatulence. I should point out that all through my life I had problem with flatulence. I just thought that was normal.
And it's not something that, and you're not
we don't
going
want
to
to
ask
talk about
anybody.
it. But I'm telling you, most people in our society are dealing with this because of what we're eating.
I usually sit next to them on the plane.
Yeah, but this is not a good thing. This means there's something wrong with your digestion.
Right, and it's not funny, and it's not something
you can't ignore it.
Want to deal with.
Right.
But people don't talk about it because it is embarrassing, and a lot of health issues are. You really don't want to admit, sure, I have hemorrhoids, sure, I've got this. You don't want to talk about that.
Well, Hippocrates said all disease begins in the gut, and that's what was actually happening to me.
I was going to say, so how, so explain now how you kind of went from all of this to collaborating
in the
research.
I was able to stop the pain in my back from not eating gluten, but then I developed chronic diarrhea, and my embouchure muscles started.
Going.
It was awful. In the fall, I developed malabsorption, malnutrition.
Your
nearly
body was
died.
shutting down.
I was shutting down. I nearly died, and my face started shaking when I played the clarinet, and it was just, it was.
And then you're probably thinking neurological.
I'm like, I'm going to die. I really thought I was going to die. There were days I didn't know if I was going to survive.
Right.
And luckily, I found the work of Dr. Weston Price.
Right.
And the Weston Price Foundation. Now, Dr. Weston Price was a doctor in the 1930s that was baffled by the amount of chronic illness in his patients, degenerative illness of all kinds. And he saw that children were sick, and people had crooked and crowded teeth, and they had cavities, and all of these things he thought had to be related. He didn't think that God made the human body to have all of these problems. And why did so many people have them? And so he decided to travel worldwide, which instead of collecting his check weekly, he thought, I got to find out what's going on here. So he decided to see if there were cultures worldwide that had no degenerative illness. And in the summers of about 10 years, he traveled and found 14 cultures that had perfect health. They had perfect teeth. Their bone structure was perfect. They didn't have any crowding in their teeth. They had no degenerative illness whatsoever.
And I'm fascinated that this was done in the 30s. I mean, he was really a forerunner in trying to determine
what he's really
the difference in what's happening in our culture. I mean, to look at it from a cultural perspective, I think is what's fascinating. You know, he didn't look just here for answers.
No, he found the Eskimos, the Eskimos, people in the Swiss Alps, people in Africa, the Maasai tribes. There were some American Indian tribes. There were people in Polynesia, and he compiled their diets and found out what they had in common that gave them perfect health. And the founder of the Weston Price Foundation is Sally Fallon, who's an international lecturer on nutrition. She wrote a best-selling book called Nourishing Traditions. She founded the Weston Price Foundation, and this work saved my life.
I was going to say, and we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, I want you to share what those commonalities between those cultures were. And also, let's just debunk some of this, because there's a lot out there that even when I took a little true-false test in here, I was like, completely failed. So I really want to get into that. Stay with us right here on Deeper Living. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Set my heart aflame, and I will live my life always.
welcome back to Deeper Living. If you're just joining us, we're visiting with Kathryne Pirtle, author of Performance Without Pain. And Kathryne, right before the break, you were really sharing sort of, you're out of necessity. Your body was shutting down, and how you jumped into sort of the research of what's out there. I can't do this anymore. Literally waking up not knowing if you're going to make it through the day.
Right.
And you were talking about the Weston Price Foundation and really finding how revolutionary what he was finding going out in the world in the 1930s, and trying to find cultures that were really different than our own here in the United States, and what was making those cultures so much more healthy than us. What were some of the findings that he found? What was the link? Because these were all over the world. These weren't in just one little pocket.
They were, right. He found that people who had perfect health had 10 times the amount of vitamin A and D in their diet from natural things. And they're going to be from high cholesterol foods. I'm going to tell you today that fat is so important. Fat saved my life.
I was going to say, there's the first myth, because we all run from cholesterol right now.
You just can't live without it.
Trans fat, it's like
It's trans fats are fake fats.
Yeah, it's
Nobody ever ate vegetable oil in the world until 1950.
Right.
For thousands of years, we ate butter, lard. These things are a part of
and
our
in the
bodies.
general market, most people don't educate themselves. So we equate fat, cholesterol, everything. We just all lump it together, and then we just look for anything that's free of anything.
Right.
And so, and
I had a low-fat diet for years. I ate lots of salads. Salads are very indigestible. Lots of this fiber is just, we're not cows.
Yes,
so
I'm a salad eater, and that's when I went,
I know. Well, the problem is that the foods that we're eating today have very little nutrients in them.
Right.
And so most of us are malnourished. We also are not eating foods that help our digestive system run properly. We're not eating fermented foods. People didn't have refrigeration forever. We haven't had refrigeration that long. People had fermented foods. They made their own sauerkraut. They cultured all their dairy products, and people drank raw milk.
Right. And again, this was the similarity in all these cultures.
Right.
A lot of them were native. Some of them were not, but
the people in the Swiss Alps had the closest diet to what I'm eating now, which is a grass-fed meats and pastured eggs and raw milk, butter, cream, and bone broth soup, which everybody had bone broth soup.
And it's the real deal.
These are real food.
Nothing stripped out, no hormones added in, nothing putting in, just very natural.
And vitamin A and D, I take cod liver oil daily, a high-quality source, and vitamin K3, which is in foods from animals that are pastured, the raw milk from pastured cows. We aren't feeding our animals their natural diets, and they're getting sick from this. We're not eating foods that help our digestive system run properly. People used to eat sauerkraut and pickled beets and kimchi and all of these, and yogurt and kefir and
And there is sort of a trend, in the forefront, I think, of people really wanting to get back to that, because you see the rise in organic. But even here in our country, and we've actually had on several makeup artists and talking about parabens and different things. And one of the things that I found interesting that they shared at one point was, in order to be organic in this country, it's like only like 3% of the product has to be natural, which then in and of itself,
it's a joke.
It really is. And so just educating ourselves obviously could save a life.
Right.
But also, with the whole holistic and finding out really this, going back to the natural. And I do see a trend in that. But again, you can't just look at a label and assume, okay, it's organic, or it's a free-range chicken, or it was fed. You really do have to.
It's a pastured. There's a difference between a free-range chicken and a pastured chicken. A pastured chicken eats bugs and worms. That's a chicken's natural diet is eating bugs and worms. Eggs from a pastured chicken are dark orange, the egg yolk. What people don't understand is that to make the body run perfectly, we have to eat nutrient-dense foods.
Right.
What are your most nutrient-dense foods? It isn't salad and vegetables, raw vegetables, which are hard to digest. It's going to be your bone broth soups. It's going to be kefir or yogurt. It's going to be, you're going to eat meats from naturally raised animals, wild-caught fish, egg yolks. These are your liver. I ate liver twice a week when I was really sick, and now I eat it once a week. These are the foods that our ancestors ate. All the time. This is an American old-fashioned farm diet.
And Absolutely. In our quest for efficiency and keeping up with our lifestyle, we now microwave things. We do all the things
and
that pull it
microwave
out.
ruins the nutrient value in foods.
Pulls it all out.
Yeah,
and so it's as people, you know, and that's sort of a cultural thing for us. And, you know, I see it in the young people today and raising kids and, you know, even looking at the kids in their classes. And
they're not eating food.
It's all coming out now. Yeah, everyone's, you know,
and
California just changed its whole diet plan, and now they just did an overhaul of the foods that the kids get at school, which I'm thrilled with, because a lot of times I look at it and I think they're at school trying to learn, and there's nothing there to build upon. They're so depleted, there's nothing there for them to kind of build their knowledge. You were talking about how important fat is in our diet.
Right, because your hormones run on fat. Your brain has got cholesterol. All your nervous system, everything needs cholesterol. Cholesterol isn't causing heart disease. It's vitamin K3 deficiency, which is because we're not eating foods from pastured animals. And our children, Dr. Price said each generation will be less healthy. He also predicted that we would have fertility problems.
Amazing.
You know, and why do we have fertility problems? These people that he studied had no fertility problems. They had one healthy child after another. And he showed that really what we're causing is extinction in our culture.
Absolutely. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Kathryne Pirtle right here on Deeper Living.
Every good and perfect gift comes down from heaven above. Every good and perfect gift from above. Every good and perfect gift comes down from heaven above. Every good and perfect gift from above. From the Father of lights, from the Father of lights, we proclaim, there's no changing. From the Father of lights, who's always the same. Praise the Lord, oh, praise the Lord, oh, every good and perfect gift. Let's all sing it together. Comes down from heaven above. Every good and perfect gift from above. Every good and perfect gift. Every good and perfect gift comes down from heaven above. Every good and perfect gift from above. From the Father of lights, from the Father of lights, we proclaim, there's no changing. From the Father of lights, who is always the same. Praise the Lord, oh, praise the Lord, oh, yeah. Up we go. Praise the Lord, oh, praise the Lord, oh, yeah. Every good and perfect gift comes down from heaven above. Every good and perfect gift from above. Every good and perfect gift Every good and perfect gift.
And welcome back to Deeper Living. And we just have a few minutes left. And Kathryne, I really want to get into really, the book has so much. I mean, we could talk about this for a whole nother hour, literally, on some of the nuggets and the information and insight that you glean from this. But quickly rattle off, for the viewer that's out there looking at it going, okay, I thought I was eating healthy and already I'm starting to question things. What are some of the things that right now they can get up, get off the sofa, run out to the grocery store and grab that is going to help to start turn this diet around?
Okay, if you want to help yourself get rid of chronic pain, I had chronic pain for 25 years. I've been pain-free for 5 years now. That's amazing.
Wonderful.
Right. You're going to start eating nutrient-dense foods. And nutrient-dense foods are like whole milk yogurt.
Okay.
Especially from grass-fed cows. There's Trader's Point yogurt at the health
And
food
again, this is
store.
not the fat-free. This is the whole
milk yogurt.
Whole fat.
Whole fat. Butter, coconut oil, lard, eat egg yolks from,
I know half the viewers
chicken,
just
from organic liver. Make bone broth soups. Start learning how to culture vegetables so your digestive system works properly. Make homemade sauerkraut. We've got all kinds of recipes in our book of how to make pickled beets and beet kvass. And vitamin A and D, get a high-quality source of cod liver oil.
Right.
And start eating foods from pastured animals.
Right.
Cows that eat grass.
And not just supplementing. A lot of times we just think
No.
if I take my daily vitamin, I'm good.
The vitamin's very hard for your body to utilize. If vitamin pills were working,
Right.
you know, we'd all just
Real
be so healthy.
food gives you
Real
something
food.
to actually burn off, to digest, to
Yeah.
absorb into your system. And tell your website. Go ahead and share that with our viewers.
PerformanceWithoutPain.com, and you can order our book from there. And we've been helping people all over the world, literally.
Right. Absolutely.
So it will improve your health, learning about these nutrient-dense foods, and then learn about the Weston A. Price Foundation. WestonAPrice.org is another place to go.
Wonderful site. And I think this is really, you know, it's helping so many people. It's healing so many people that have been out there just questioning what's happening, suffering. And there's an answer. God has given us answers. And like you said, it's going back to original diets. It's going back to the whole foods before we processed everything, injected everything, and really tried to keep up with our culture. So it's pulling us back into really where we needed to be to begin with. And I quickly want to do a plug for your new CD. This is Twilight of Romance, clarinetist, and just beautiful music. And this is available on your website.
Right.
And this is just wonderful, and you've gotten rave reviews on this.
Right, from Gramophone Magazine.
Yeah, share quickly. So now I know you continue to tour and travel and play in the chamber orchestra.
Chamber music. It's a chamber music group. OrionEnsemble.org.
Okay.
ORION Ensemble. And yes, it's our 15th season.
Wonderful.
We just have, you know, wonderful music.
And I'm sure that your contemporaries and the people that you've worked with for years are probably absolutely amazed at your transformation and the years that
they didn't think I was going to live.
Well, and after watching you live essentially this healthy lifestyle and really almost to the point where your body just was failing you, I'm sure that
I was following all the trends, and they just are not. They aren't truth. They're just not based on truth.
Again, Performance Without Pain. Visit the website. Thank you so much for joining us right here on Deeper Living.